I don't think I'll ever forget the sound that bottle made when it hit the sidewalk. It bounced once, twice, then rolled into the patch of weeds near the driveway. My hands were still shaking from the stairs. I had barely made it out of bed that morning. I was dizzy, short of breath, and my legs weren't steady. I had called out for help twice, and no one came. Then the door flew open, and there he was, my only son, Malcolm, shirtless, barefoot, red in the face. "If you're that sick," he snapped, "go live in a hospital." Before I could say a word, he picked up my pill bottle from the kitchen counter and flung it out the front door like it was trash. Then he slammed the door behind me. I was outside, no coat, no shoes. My knees buckled, and I had to hold onto the railing just to keep from going down. "Hold on a moment before we move forward. Let us know where in the world you're watching from. And if you're loving these stories, don't forget to hit subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be absolutely mind-blowing." I stood there in my nightgown for at least 30 seconds, trying to understand what had just happened. Malcolm had always been impatient, but this was something else. I looked toward the street. There was no one around, no neighbors to witness it, thank God. I took a few shallow breaths and lowered myself down the steps. I found the pill bottle near the edge of the yard, dirt stuck in the cap, the label peeled from the fall. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just held the bottle in my hands and felt my chest tighten again. I was having an episode. I knew the signs. My heart was racing, my fingers tingling, the nausea building. I sat on the edge of the porch and waited for the spinning to stop. When it didn't, I crawled back to my car. It had been sitting in the driveway for weeks. Barely used since Malcolm and his wife Jasmine moved into my house. The keys were in the glove box where I always kept them. I turned the engine, and by some miracle it started. My vision blurred halfway down the block. I pulled over once to throw up into a fast food napkin. Then I kept driving. I don't remember parking at the ER. I don't even remember walking in. But I do remember the nurse's face when I collapsed onto the check-in counter and handed her the bottle. She caught me before I hit the floor. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed with an IV in my arm and a monitor beeping steadily next to me. "You were lucky," the doctor said later that night. "Another day without treatment, and you could have stroked out in your sleep." I nodded slowly. I didn't tell him that I almost had. I stayed in that hospital bed for 5 days. Room 112B. Bland walls, cold sheets. Every night, the same question burned through me. Would he even notice I was gone? Nobody visited. Not once. No flowers, no calls. Jasmine didn't even send a text. On the second night, I asked the nurse if she could check my phone for me. She handed it over gently. 3 unread messages. None from Malcolm. One was a chain message from a church group. One was a reminder from the pharmacy. The last one was from my neighbor, Gloria. "Haven't seen you around. Everything okay?" I replied. "I'm in the hospital. Long story." Then I put the phone down and closed my eyes. That third night, a woman from social services came in. She had a clipboard and a soft voice. Said she was doing a wellness check because the hospital flagged me for possible neglect. I told her I lived with family, that I was okay. She looked at me like she'd heard that answer before. "Well," she said, "okay shouldn't feel like this." They discharged me the next morning with a bag full of prescriptions and a warning to avoid stress. They didn't know that stress was waiting for me at home. I caught a cab back to my own address. My name still on the deed. It was paid off 10 years ago. My husband worked 2 jobs to give us that roof, and when he died, I kept it going with my pension and the little I had saved. When Jasmine lost her job and Malcolm got laid off, I opened the door. I cooked. I babysat. I gave them space. But when I turned the knob that morning, it wouldn't move. They had changed the locks. No bag, no instructions, no explanation. I stood on the porch with a hospital wristband still around my arm, knocking for 5 minutes straight. Finally, Jasmine opened the door just a crack. She looked surprised, not guilty, just annoyed. "You should have told us you were coming back today," she said. "I live here," I said. "Where's Malcolm?" "He's sleeping," she shrugged. "He had a rough night." I almost died. She didn't say anything, just stared at the bag in my hand like it offended her. "Let me in." "Malcolm said we need boundaries," she replied, and closed the door. I stood there a long time. I didn't knock again. I walked back to the street and called Gloria. She answered on the first ring. "Baby Jesus," she said. "Where are you?" She picked me up within 20 minutes, took me to her place, gave me a warm blanket and some lemon tea. I told her everything. She didn't cry. I did. That night I slept on her pull-out couch. I used one of her old church pillows, the kind that still smelled like oil and peppermint. I stared at the ceiling for hours, wondering how I'd become a visitor in my own life. The next morning she handed me a business card with a name I hadn't heard in years. Monica Reeves. It said, "Elder Law, Atlanta." I blinked. "She's still working?" "Oh, she's more than working," Gloria said. "She's been helping women like us make sure our names don't get erased." I held the card in my hand, and I didn't feel weak anymore. I didn't call Monica Reeves that same morning. I sat with the card for a while, flipping it between my fingers while Gloria made scrambled eggs in her little yellow kitchen. The radio was playing a gospel station low in the background. I could smell cinnamon toast. "You need to call her," Gloria said without turning around. "She's good, and she knows this type of mess, especially when it's family." I nodded, but I didn't move. Something in me was still embarrassed, still waiting for someone to tell me this was a misunderstanding, that Malcolm didn't mean it, that Jasmine had just spoken out of turn. I wanted to believe they would call, say, "Come home," ask how I was feeling, ask anything, but the phone stayed silent. By the time breakfast was on the table, I knew what I had to do. I took my phone into Gloria's back room and sat on the edge of the twin bed. I dialed the number on Monica's card. She picked up on the second ring. "Monica Reeves," I hesitated. "Hello?" she repeated. "Monica, it's Shirley Dawson." There was a pause, then, "Shirley Dawson from Greenmont," I exhaled. "Yes, ma'am." "Well, I'll be. Haven't heard from you in years." "I know, but I need some help now." Monica didn't ask for details. She just said, "Are you safe?" "Yes." "Are you alone?" "No, I'm with a friend." "Okay. Then come see me tomorrow morning. I'll clear the 9 a.m. slot." Gloria drove me there herself. Monica's office was in a brick building off Jefferson Parkway, next to a dental clinic and a pawn shop. She greeted me in the lobby with the same strong handshake I remembered from when she helped me settle James's estate back in '08. We sat in her office. She wore a navy suit, no jewelry except a small silver pin on her collar. She pulled out a yellow legal pad and clicked her pen once. I told her everything, from the pills on the sidewalk to the locked door, from the hospital stay to Jasmine's face at the door like I was an unexpected bill showing up. Monica didn't flinch once. She just kept writing. When I finished, I felt lighter, not happy, not angry. Just like the weight had shifted to the table instead of my chest. When I stopped talking, she asked just one question. "Is your name still on the house?" I nodded. "Yes. James and I bought it together in '88. I never refinanced it. It's paid off." "Deed? Still in my name. And the mortgage?" "Paid in full since 2013. "Good," Monica said. "Then we have leverage." She explained the process slowly, carefully. She didn't rush me. "If they change the locks on a property you legally own," she said, "that's grounds for legal action. We can pursue a partition suit, or, if you'd rather, we can start by issuing a formal notice demanding access. And if they ignore it, then we escalate. Fast." I nodded. "What do you want to happen, Shirley?" she asked me finally. "Let's not talk law for a moment. Let's talk what you want." I stared at her for a long second. Then I said, "I want them out. I want my house back." She nodded and clicked her pen again. "Then that's what we'll do." The next 2 days were filled with paperwork. Monica helped me retrieve the deed from the county office. She drafted the demand letter and had it notarized in her office. Gloria let me borrow her printer to make copies. I went to the pharmacy to refill my prescriptions and signed everything Monica needed. I didn't hear a word from Malcolm. But Jasmine posted a photo on Facebook, her smiling on the front porch, my porch. The caption read, "New beginnings. Finally at peace. Peace." That word almost made me laugh. I didn't comment. I didn't message. I didn't respond. I just sent the screenshot to Monica. She replied, "Excellent. Confirms possession. Helps us in court." On Friday morning, the certified letter went out. Gloria and I sat on her couch that afternoon and watched game shows like nothing had changed. But I couldn't focus. I kept staring at the little pile of papers on the end table. The legal copy, the deed, the tracking receipt. Gloria leaned over. "You did the right thing." "I know," I said. "I just can't believe it came to this." "You didn't bring it here," she said. "They did." 2 days later, I got a text. It was from Malcolm. Malcolm. "We got your letter." "Seriously? You're gonna throw us out?" I stared at the screen. I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another text. Malcolm. "Jasmine's pregnant. We were going to tell you." I still didn't reply. A minute later, Malcolm. "What kind of mother does this?" I typed slowly. "Shirley. The kind that got locked out of her own home." I hit send, then turned the phone face down. That night I slept better than I had in weeks. Monica filed the petition with the court first thing Monday morning. We requested an emergency hearing. She told me it would take a few days, maybe a week, for the judge to respond. In the meantime, they had legal notice. They couldn't change the locks again. They couldn't sell the home. And they couldn't kick me out. Because now, I was the one pressing charges. 2 mornings later, Jasmine posted again. This time it wasn't a photo. It was a long paragraph about boundaries and toxic elders and breaking generational curses. Gloria read it out loud. "Just because someone gave birth to you doesn't mean they get to control your life." Lord have mercy, I laughed. "Just once, quietly. Keep going," I said. But Gloria just shook her head. "She's scared." "I know." "Good. We didn't talk to the neighbors. We didn't start gossip. I didn't want revenge. I wanted my house. I wanted my space. And I was going to get it back, one signature at a time. The day Monica told me the hearing was approved, I was folding Gloria's towels in her laundry room. She had just gone out to pick up a few things from the store. The phone rang and I let it go to voicemail the first time. Then it rang again. "Shirley," Monica said as soon as I picked up. "We got a date, next Thursday. Judge Vickers. She doesn't play around." I sat down right there on the little step stool in the corner of Gloria's laundry room and closed my eyes. It wasn't relief, not exactly. It was more like confirmation, like the ground under my feet was starting to firm up again. "What do I need to do?" I asked. "Show up. That's it," she said. "We've got everything. Deed, witness affidavit, printed screenshots, and a signed demand letter with proof of delivery. And I've already submitted the petition requesting exclusive access to the property until sale or buyout. You're solid." "Okay," I said. "Shirley?" "Yeah." "They're not going to like what's coming." I paused. They liked it just fine when it was happening to me. The days leading up to the court hearing were quiet. Gloria kept herself busy fussing over me like I was 90 years old. I let her. I needed the distraction. I watched TV. I helped her cook. I even started walking around the block once a day just to get my strength back. Malcolm didn't call again. Jasmine didn't either. But that Wednesday night, the doorbell rang around 7 p.m. I was in the kitchen washing a mug when Gloria came in and said, "It's him." I dried my hands and stepped into the living room. Malcolm was standing on the porch in a wrinkled t-shirt and jeans. He didn't look angry. He looked tired. I opened the door, but I didn't invite him in. "Hey, Ma." "Malcolm. Can we talk for a second?" "Say what you need to say from there," I said. He glanced around like he was checking for neighbors. "Look, I know things got out of hand. Jasmine was stressed. I was working extra shifts. The baby. All of it. It just got messy. See? Messy," I repeated. He nodded. "We didn't mean to shut you out." I folded my arms. "You changed the locks." He didn't respond. "You threw my medication into the yard and told me to live in a hospital." He looked down at his shoes. "Do you remember that, Malcolm?" He nodded but still didn't look up. "So tell me, what part didn't you mean?" "I was scared," he said. "Everything was falling apart, and I didn't know how to deal with it. You were sick, and we couldn't afford to take care of you. And Jasmine said. I interrupted. He finally looked at me. "You think I'm proud of what happened?" "No," I said. "I think you're only here because you're about to lose the roof over your head." He stayed silent for a moment. "Court's tomorrow," he said quietly. "I know." "I don't want it to go that far." I nodded slowly. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before you locked your mother out of her own house." He blinked. "Can't we just work something out?" "No," I said. "We're past that now." "Ma, you have until the court tells you otherwise. That's all I'm giving you." Then I closed the door. The next morning I wore my good slacks and a button-down shirt I hadn't taken out of the closet in months. Gloria drove me. She waited in the lobby while Monica and I sat inside the courtroom. Malcolm was there when we walked in. Jasmine wasn't. He looked like he hadn't slept. The hearing lasted less than 25 minutes. Monica laid everything out. Copies of the deed, photos of the house, the letter of notice, the police report from the hospital, documenting my condition, and Gloria's signed statement confirming I had been staying with her since the incident. Malcolm didn't fight much. His lawyer tried to argue that I had voluntarily left the property, but the judge stopped him right there. She left to seek medical treatment after being denied access to her home, Judge Vickers said. "That's not voluntary. That's a survival response." Then she looked straight at Malcolm and said, "Sir, I suggest you prepare to vacate." Her gavel came down like thunder. By the next afternoon, Monica filed the paperwork to begin the sale of the house. Malcolm had 30 days to leave or file an appeal. But appeals cost money, and I knew good and well they didn't have any. 2 days later, I got a call from a real estate investor. Monica had already contacted him. He was offering a full cash deal. No inspections, no contingencies. The price was fair. "I want it sold," I told her. "Done," she said. That Sunday, Gloria and I drove past the house. My house. There was a for sale sign already posted on the lawn. The porch light was off, curtains still drawn. Jasmine's car was gone. Malcolm's was in the driveway, but crooked, like he didn't care anymore. I didn't get out of the car. I didn't need to. Just seeing that sign was enough. The next message came Tuesday evening. "Malcolm, we're leaving this weekend. You got what you wanted." I didn't respond. Friday morning, Gloria knocked on my door and held up a brown envelope. "Came for you." It was the wire confirmation. The house was sold. The money had been deposited. My name was cleared. Every trace of shared property gone. I stared at the numbers for a while. I didn't smile. I just felt still. Not empty, just still. That evening I sat on Gloria's porch with a cup of tea and watched the sun go down. A breeze moved through the trees. Somewhere down the street a dog barked. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was surviving something. I felt like I was coming back. The house was gone. House was, on paper at least. The sale had gone through clean. No liens. No delays. The new owners would take possession the following week. Monica told me she'd take care of the final key exchange herself. I wouldn't need to go back. But I did. Not to see Malcolm. And certainly not to say goodbye. I just needed to walk through it once, alone, before someone else's furniture covered the floors I used to mop. So I drove over Sunday morning just after 7 a.m. The sky was still grey and quiet. I parked across the street. There were no cars in the driveway. Jasmine and Malcolm were already gone. I walked up to the porch with the key Monica had left in a little manila envelope in her office. The paint on the doorframe was chipped. The same doormat I'd bought years ago still sat there, though the welcome lettering had all but faded. I opened the door slowly. The smell hit me first. Leftover lavender oil and something burnt. Probably incense. Jasmine always said it helped her focus. The house was nearly empty. The furniture was gone. A few scuff marks on the floor showed, where the couch used to sit. The dining room was bare. The walls still had faint outlines from pictures that had been taken down. I stepped into the kitchen. The cabinets were open, a few crumbs on the counter. The glass I used to drink tea from had been cracked and tossed into the sink. I recognized the towel hanging on the oven door. It was mine, embroidered with little yellow flowers. Still there, still folded. I picked it up, slid it into my purse, then I walked through the hallway, slow. The room Malcolm grew up in was empty now. The closet door was open, the carpet stained, near the corner from when he spilled a bottle of orange soda in 7th grade. I stood in the doorway a moment, then I moved on. I stepped into my old bedroom. What used to be mine. The bed frame was gone. The curtains were still up. They were different now. Dark gray. Not the light floral ones I'd chosen. The closet was empty, but the shelves were dusty. There was still a bottle of lotion lying on its side in the top corner. Probably Jasmine's. Didn't touch it. I just stood there, breathing, feeling what was left. They had erased me. I knew that. But what they didn't realize was that I hadn't gone quietly. I'd taken back what mattered. Not the walls, not the windows, the control. That bedroom, no longer mine, felt like a coat I'd outgrown. I turned around and walked out. That afternoon I handed Monica the key in person. We met in her office. "You didn't have to go back," she said. "I know." "Did it help?" "Not sure yet," I said. She slid a folder across the desk. "What's this?" "Something you should think about," she said. "The sale gave you options." I opened the folder. A listing for a 1-bedroom condo on the east side. Safe neighborhood. Ground floor, no stairs, newly remodeled kitchen, affordable, quiet. I stared at the photos. "It's not fancy," she said. "But it's yours if you want it." I nodded. "I want it." We closed on it 3 days later. Cash purchase, no loan. I signed the papers with a pen that felt heavy in my hand. Not because it was hard, but because I knew what it meant. This time, no one could take the key from me. The condo was smaller than the house, of course, but it was clean, bright, and silent. Gloria came with me the day I moved in. She helped me unpack a few boxes, arrange some dishes, hang a frame on the wall with a picture of James and me from 1975. One of the only ones I'd saved. I made tea that night, the first cup in my own kitchen in months. I sat at the table by the window and watched the street outside. No noise, no shouting, no doors slamming behind me. No one telling me I was too much. Just me. A week later, Malcolm showed up again. I heard the knock while I was folding laundry. I knew the rhythm. I looked through the peephole just to be sure. It was him. Alone. No car. No Jasmine. No suitcase. I opened the door halfway. "Ma," he said. His voice was low, like he wasn't sure what volume was safe. "What do you want?" "I don't have anywhere else to go." I didn't speak. He cleared his throat. "She left. Jasmine. 2 days ago." "Sorry to hear that," I said flatly. He looked down at the concrete. She said she couldn't handle the stress. Said I let her down. Said I let you win. I raised my eyebrows. This wasn't a contest. He nodded. I know. I lost everything. You didn't lose it, Malcolm. You gave it away. He swallowed hard. Can I come in? Just for a minute. No. He blinked. No? No, Malcolm. You don't get to come in because now you're ready. That door you slammed in my face. Remember that? I remember. You said I was a burden. I know. You left me outside sick, alone. I had to drive myself to the ER. I know. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I'm sorry. I nodded once. That's a start. I didn't close the door. I let him stand there. Let him sit with it. He didn't ask again. Just stood there, like maybe he was waiting for me to soften. I didn't. He turned and walked away. I watched until he reached the sidewalk. Then I closed the door. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I turned back to my laundry and kept folding. That Friday, I bought a new set of dishes. Just 4 plates, 4 bowls. Enough for me and maybe a guest. But no more setting the table for people who couldn't show up for me. I started keeping a small journal again. Just notes. Things I wanted to remember. Gloria called it my peace log. I wrote down the names of the neighbors who waved. The song the radio played when I brewed my first pot of coffee in the new place. The way it felt to wake up without walking on eggshells. I even wrote Malcolm's name, not out of spite. Just to remember the lesson. Gloria came over for dinner 2 weeks later. I made baked chicken and collard greens. She brought sweet tea and a peach cobbler from her freezer stash. We ate at my little kitchen table. She looked around and said, It feels like you now. It is, I said. We didn't talk about the house, or Jasmine, or what came next. We didn't need to. We just ate and laughed, and then we washed dishes together like we used to after church potlucks. Before she left, she said, You're stronger than I thought. I had no choice. You always had a choice, she said. You just finally picked you. That night, I stood at the window and looked out again. The porch light was on. The street was quiet. I locked the door. Not out of fear, out of peace. Because what was mine stayed mine, and no one was going to throw it out again. The summer came in slow that year. April rolled into May without much notice. I kept my routine simple. Early mornings, coffee with the window open, short walks around the neighborhood, a few calls from Gloria, and plenty of quiet in between. The silence didn't feel strange anymore. It felt earned. Every Sunday, I still went to the same church I had before everything happened. Not to be seen. Not for gossip. Just to sit. To listen. To feel steady again. Malcolm didn't show up again. Not in person, at least. But on the second Friday of May, he called. I didn't answer right away. I saw his name flash on the screen and let it go to voicemail. A minute later, a text came in. Malcolm, I'm not asking for money. I just need to talk. I waited. Then I hit play on the voicemail. His voice cracked halfway through. Hey, Ma. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, and I wouldn't blame you. Things are hard. Really hard. I've been staying at a friend's couch, but that's not gonna last. I've been looking for work. No one's calling back. I guess I'm saying. I know I messed up. I know. I've had time to think about everything I did, everything I said. You didn't deserve it. None of it. He paused. Anyway, I'm sorry. I really am. I hope you're doing okay. That was it. I didn't call him back. 2 days later, I ran into someone from my old block, Miss Barbara, the one who used to live 3 houses down. We were both in the checkout line at the grocery store. She looked surprised to see me. Shirley? Lord, I didn't know where you'd gone. Just moved across town, I said. Yeah, we heard something happened with Malcolm and that wife of his. I didn't reply. She leaned in. Girl, you know she left him, right? I heard. She didn't just leave, took everything they had, cleaned out the little account they shared, and moved in with her sister in Savannah. Left him with nothing but a bag of clothes and an eviction notice. I raised my eyebrows. They were renting? Well, after that house got sold, they didn't have much choice. I nodded. That's unfortunate. She gave me a long look. You okay? I'm better than I've been in a long time. When I got home, I sat with that voicemail again. I played it twice. Then I deleted it. I didn't need it. I didn't need proof that he knew he was wrong. I didn't need an apology to hang on the wall like some kind of trophy. What I needed was what I already had. Peace. And a front door that locked from the inside. The following weekend, Gloria invited me to a community lunch at her church. I almost didn't go, but she insisted. Said I needed to stop hiding in that quiet little condo and come eat something made by women who still used real butter. I showed up with a peach pie I baked that morning and a fresh blouse. Gloria beamed when she saw me. You look like you finally exhaled, she said. Maybe I did. The lunch was loud, crowded, full of warm voices and casserole dishes. I sat near the end of the table with a few other ladies my age and listened to them talk about their grandkids, their knees, their pastors. Nobody asked me where I'd been. Nobody looked at me sideways. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I belonged again. Not as someone's mother, not as someone's problem, just as Shirley. The next afternoon, my phone rang again. Malcolm, I answered this time. Hello, Ma, he said, almost whispering. I got your message, I said. I heard everything you had to say. There was a long pause. And? I believe you meant it. Another pause. But it doesn't change anything. He exhaled through the receiver. I'm not expecting anything. I just needed to say it. Then you said it, I replied. I didn't just lose my wife, he said. I lost everything. I lost you. You pushed me away, Malcolm. I know I did. There was silence on both ends. Then he said, I don't know what to do anymore. You figure it out, I said, like I had to. He didn't respond. You're not a child, and I'm not a bank or a doormat. You made choices. Now you live with them. Ma, I'm not asking for anything. You already asked for everything when you told me to go live in a hospital. He got quiet again. I'm not angry, I said, but I don't trust you. He sniffed. I could hear it. He was trying not to cry. I'm not mad at you, Malcolm, I said. I'm just done saving you. That was the last time we spoke for a while. He didn't call again that week. I went back to my normal days. I made tea. I read. I rearranged the living room furniture twice in one day, just to make it feel more mine. And when I finally got tired, I laid down on my own bed and slept all the way through the night. Not a single nightmare. One afternoon, about 2 weeks later, Gloria called. You hear from him lately? She asked. Nope. Good. Why? Because I saw him outside the Dollar Tree downtown. Looked like he hadn't showered in a few days. I didn't say anything. She continued. He didn't see me. Was asking folks for change near the parking lot. Still, I didn't speak. You okay? She asked. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. I am. Because the truth was, I was. I didn't like that Malcolm was living like that, but I wasn't going to break my back to fix it. I had tried before, and look where that got me. I'd nearly died. That night, I opened the same little journal I'd been keeping and added one sentence. I didn't break when he begged, and I didn't, because forgiveness doesn't mean return, because sorrow doesn't erase damage, because love doesn't always require rescue. By June, the heat had settled into the pavement and the windows. I kept a small fan running near my kitchen table, not because it did much, but the sound filled the room in a comforting way. Gloria still checked in every other day. Usually just long enough to ask what I ate or complain about the mailman who always left her mailbox door open. Life had become predictable, but in a good way. I had routines again. I paid my bills. I cooked real meals. I said no without guilt. The condo was fully mine now, in rhythm and space. I had donated most of what was left from the old house. Just a few keepsakes remained. A teacup, the photo of James, a box of old church fans. The rest, I left behind. On purpose. One Sunday afternoon, Gloria came over with a bag of groceries and the newspaper. She always bought two, one for herself, one for me, because we earned the right to circle what we please. As we sipped sweet tea and flipped through the pages, she set down her cup and said, "You know, I think you're ready. Ready for what? To forgive." I looked at her, quiet. "I didn't say forget," she added. "Just let it go from your bones." I didn't answer right away. Instead, I looked down at the classifieds. And there it was. His name, Malcolm Dawson. Arrested Friday for trespassing. Released Saturday. It was one of those little public report blurbs, tucked between minor thefts and DUI listings. No photo, just the name, date, and charge. Was it the Dollar Tree again? Gloria asked, already knowing. Probably. She waited for me to speak, but I didn't. I tore out the strip with his name, folded it once, and tucked it in the back of my journal. I didn't know why yet. Maybe to remind myself of how far I'd come. Maybe because there was still some part of me that couldn't let go completely. The next morning I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name. Inside, folded into 4 small parts, was a handwritten note. His handwriting. I recognized the slant, the pressure. The same loops he had when he was in middle school. "Ma, I don't expect you to answer this. I just wanted to write it, because talking doesn't seem to work. I'm not doing great. I've been sleeping in my car most nights when I can find one. Other nights, it's just the park. I've been looking for work, but without an address or references, nobody takes you seriously. I understand now what you must have felt. To be treated like you don't matter, like you're in the way. I didn't understand then, but I do now. I was wrong. Not just for what I said, but how I said it. For everything. For acting like you owed me your comfort, your house, your time. I keep thinking about that day. The door, the bottle. If I could undo it, I would. But I know I can't. I don't want your money. I don't want anything from you, except to know if one day, when you're ready, I can sit at your table again. Even if it's just once. Even if it's the last time. I'm sorry. I love you. Malcolm, I read it twice. Then I sat at my kitchen table for a long time, not moving. The clock ticked. The fan hummed. The note stayed open in front of me. I didn't rush to decide. For 2 days, I let it sit. On the 3rd, I called Monica, not to talk legal, just to talk. She answered with her usual dry tone. "What's the update?" "I got a letter from Malcolm." She paused. "What does he want?" "Nothing. Just acknowledgement." "Well," she said, "you don't owe him anything." "I know," I said. "But I don't want to carry this forever." There was a silence on the line. Then she said, "Closure isn't always about the other person. Sometimes it's just about being able to sleep at night." That Friday, I wrote him back. Not much, just a single page, clear and simple. "Malcolm, I received your letter. I believe your apology, but I'm still not ready to invite you back into my life. That doesn't mean I hate you. It just means I'm still healing. I hope you take that time to heal, too. You were not raised to treat people the way you did. Not me, not anyone. When you are living responsibly, when you are employed, clean, and showing me, not just telling me, that you've changed, we can talk. Until then, I wish you well. Take care of yourself." Mai mailed it the same afternoon. Didn't wait for a reply. Didn't need one. Weeks passed. Then one morning in July, I was coming out of the grocery store when I saw him. Malcolm. He was standing near the exit, Shirt tucked in, hair trimmed. No sign of that old weight in his eyes. He wasn't looking at me. He was holding a bag of ice and talking to someone behind the counter. I watched him for a minute. He looked okay. Not polished, not perfect, but okay. He didn't see me, and I didn't approach. I just walked to my car and drove home. That was enough. For now. The next Sunday, I set the table for one like I always did. But I put an extra glass down. Not because someone was coming. Just in case. Because healing didn't mean forgetting. It didn't mean opening the door wide. It just meant the lock didn't scare me anymore. And that, for a woman like me, was the real beginning.